The artwork that I've chosen to discuss today is La Demoiselle d'Avignon, which is a painting by Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso was a very famous Spanish painter, but did most of his life's work in Paris. He's considered a very controversial figure in art because he was constantly changing his style and breaking traditional artistic style as well. But he is considered one of the most influential figures in art in the 20th century. The reason I've chosen to discuss La Demoiselle d'Avignon is because it is probably one of his most famous paintings and can be attributed to the start of the Cubism movement. The Cubism movement was preceded by the Impressionist, Post-Impressionist, and Fauvism movements. And the painter Cezanne from the Impressionist movement is a very big inspiration for Picasso because he was beginning to employ the techniques of Cubism lightly in his artworks, but he wasn't quite there to make a breakthrough. And so Pablo Picasso's work is truly groundbreaking because it really indicates the start of the Cubism movement. And this movement lasted for about 7 years, a little more. And it can be defined by breaking down subjects into multiple pieces and kind of putting them back together on one plane and incorporating many viewpoints. And now I kind of want to get into why this painting specifically is so important. First, it's important to note the location of Avignon, which is a famous street in Barcelona, and it is home to the red light district and many brothels and prostitutes, which are the women depicted in this painting. The depiction of the woman is super important because it shows the use of geometric figures and strong lines to create a human body. And this is throwing the traditional style of art and depiction of the human body out of the window. We're no longer focusing on a realistic depiction. Picasso forms these women through the use of many shapes and kind of breaking the body down. Besides the formation of their body, their gaze is also very important to the painting. The painting is meant to represent Pablo Picasso's desire, as well as the male gaze. The original sketches of the painting had two men depicted who were meant to represent different viewpoints, but they were actually taken out, and by taking them out, this put the gaze of the woman onto us as viewers and allows us to kind of participate directly. And by participating directly, we can understand his desire in this painting, as well as male desire and sexualization of women. We see that two women in the painting are actually wearing tribal masks, and one is depicted in an archaic form. And these are also vital aspects to this painting, because we see that Picasso is not sticking to one style. Rather, he's incorporating many styles into one work. And this is kind of classic of him because throughout his career, he never really stayed to one style of art. He bounced between many. The masked figure and the archaic figure are meant to represent his interest in other types of art, but also representing raw and authentic women, as well as danger. It's been noted that the masked figure and the archaic figure are meant to represent fear of sexually transmitted diseases. So in a way, Pablo is trying to make art more modern and represent what is going on in the 20th century and just challenge traditional art style. Something else he challenges is the use of perspective and illusion, which dominated in previous art movements. He kind of gets rid of the linear perspective, and we have more of a 2D painting that has many viewpoints. The multiple viewpoints is because he gets rid of the relationship of the foreground and the middle ground and the background and rather creates a 2D plane. And this allows us as viewers to kind of interact and just view it in different ways. Another element that adds to the experience of Les Demoiselles is its size. It stands at 8 feet tall and 7 feet wide, being one of the largest Picasso works of all time. And I have seen this work in person, And that's a reason why I chose to discuss it today, because it really is a true experience. It's so large and has so many elements to it that when you're standing in front of it, there's so much to analyze and take in. And I just think La Demoiselles is one of the most influential paintings of all time and was kind of the first break from traditional art to abstraction and to contemporary art that we see today. And I think this is why it was so controversial at the time, because it was truly nothing that was ever seen before. And I think Picasso knew this because he actually kept the work in his studio from 1907, from when it was finished, to 1916, and it did end up getting negative reactions from the art world, but I feel like in the end it did true good. I think Pablo Picasso is one of the most renowned artists and wasn't afraid to dabble in many different styles of art, and I think that's why he's so famous and why he really did make a change to what was considered the norm. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.